Welcome back to CyberBytes, the podcast. Today's guest is Daniel, CEO and co-founder of Miggo Security. In this episode, we get into why the application layer is the new battleground for security teams, how AI is changing the way we think about defense, and what the future of application detection response really looks like. Enjoy the show.
Cool, and we're live. So welcome to an episode of CyberBytes, the podcast. Today it's a pleasure to be joined by Daniel, who is the CEO and co-founder of Miggo Security. Daniel, thanks for coming on, dude. How are you?
Great being here, an amazing RSAC week.
It is indeed. How have you found it so far? What's the main topic of conversation for you guys?
Yeah, so of course, so I think, first it's really a great week, and I think that, the weather did justice with us and with RSA. We're really having an amazing week. Mm-hmm. At least for me, always it's about like meeting new people, and it's a very cheerful week, I think, for many people. So for us, most of the people I'm talking to, I think, of course, kind of AI is a big topic this year, mm-hmm. and for many people, I think it's an opportunity, but it's a big concern. And in many cases, it also ties up to what we're doing, which is, I think AI is reducing dramatically the predictability of some of the actions that our own customers are doing, as well as creating an accelerated ability from the attackers, which are it's a very interesting topic to talk on, and something that we know something about. So yeah.
For sure, yeah. And for those that don't know you and Miggo, can you just give like a quick 30-second, 60-second insight to who you are, a bit about your background,
yeah,
and then also the problem that Miggo is solving?
Yeah, of course. I think that, Daniel, born and raised in Israel, spent most of my career in the Israeli Defense Forces, in the intelligence, doing mainly cyber. Mm-hmm. After 10 years there, moved to McKinsey, the consulting firm, been for 3 years there, and had an amazing luck to reconnect with one of the best people I know from the military, who is currently my co-founder, and we founded Miggo together.
Correct.
And I think that kind of why we or the problem that we're trying to solve is quite straightforward, I would say. Essentially, we're living in a world where applications, I'm not talking about those on your phone, like the backbone of our businesses, have this ever-extending attack surface. Mm. And we're seeing more ways to attack them and more complexities in the way that they're being attacked. And it's not only about this, but it's also about again, going back to the AI topic, it's also about the ability for actually attackers to exploit them much quicker than people manage to remediate them. Mm-hmm. And then the question is, what do you do about it? Mm. And this is what we are helping you solve. We're helping you actively defend your applications.
Love it. Yeah. And so you and Itai building Miggo, why did you want to solve this ADR problem? Like, was there a pivotal moment you're like, okay, we need to go and build this?
Yeah, so I think that, me and Ty I would say me, Ty, most of the team are coming from the offensive perspective. Essentially, I think that most of the times when people think about application security, they're thinking about securing code. Mm-hmm. But attackers think about it as, essentially, there is a box, how do I break it?
Yeah.
And as part of this, we need to understand not just how the code itself is working, not just how you intended things to be happening. We need to truly understand, what's inside the box.
Yeah.
So when Itai and I kind of approached it, I think that initially what triggered us was on the one side, as we mentioned, we saw more and more capabilities that attackers actually evolved in their evolution towards application attacks and utilizing attacks. I don't know if you know, but like one of the things that it was really big, that most of the attacks are, starting from the application there. And when we talk with application teams, we still heard that for most of them, they're still only kind of looking at the code, trying to predict and to prevent the issues. But essentially, they're stuck with the problem that they have this immense backlog on the growing. They're not really managing to remediate a lot of those issues. And as we just told, like attacker already are there, or already managing to exploit them. So we said, okay, we must think about things differently.
Yeah.
And this is essentially how we came up with this. Because again, I wouldn't say it's a new problem, but I would say that this is a problem that just got much bigger with the acceleration of AI on both sides of the defenders and mostly the attackers.
Yeah. Cool. And so you and Itai have been building Miggo for the last couple of years. What would you say one of the biggest challenges that you faced or run into over the last couple of years of building Miggo?
Yeah, so I think Miggo is trying to bring a bit of a different approach to how we are approaching securing applications. So it's less about the ability to scan every piece of your code and try to figure all of the different possibilities, and it's more about the ability to understand exactly what the application is doing, what the attacker can do with it, and so on. And this is type of a paradigm shift that I wouldn't like. It's sometimes not, it's not easy to walk through, because for most security people, I think it's very conceptually correct. But we are on the journey with them to take it back to the organization in order to help them define how can they kind of rethink about application security and overall. Because I think for many years, we were used to the fact that you have application is this entity that is keep growing as we are losing more and more control of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for many companies, they still have this internal understanding that whatever is there, we have the control, we have the ability to understand what's happening, but then open source, but then like third-party components, external authentication, not to mention vibe coding now. And I think for many companies, like there is this realization drop that I really have an essential part of my business that I really don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a challenge to help them, after building amazing processes and relationship with developers over a long time, to bring a different approach on how do I not just, scan my code finding problems, but actually finding the 1% of things that I need to actually do, but mostly how do I actively defend it and not just, showing the problems to the world.
Yeah. So it's a lot of education essentially in the space, because it's not an old problem, but it's kind of a newer solution to an old problem. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that essentially the problem is here for as long as applications were here. I think that the evolvement in application technologies over the last 10 years is outstanding. Mm-hmm. Like what the world has enabled us to do is quite amazing, and the problem that I think every person that tried to protect application 10 years ago will tell you that, vulnerability is not a new thing. But the amount of issues, the amount of so-called vulnerabilities, the class of vulnerabilities, as well as the scale of them and the complexity of them, is just skyrocketing with each and every technology that's being introduced. Okay, distribution introduced a bunch of it, and others and now kind of AI-driven or agentic AI application brings a bunch of it. And at least for us, the question is always about how there is this component of how can I think about things differently.
Mm-hmm. Learnings wise, so if you look back now over the last couple of years, mm-hmm. Is there something that you would have done differently from what you know now in the journey of Miggo?
So it's an interesting question, because I think every entrepreneur you'll ask always has this answer for the things you would do differently, and of course I have a bunch. Mm-hmm. I think that if there is one thing that I would do differently, is actually something that I think we did well, but I would just make it into a much of a deeper habit, which is the really deep relationship we have with our customers. I think that one of the core things that was very important for us is really to partner with our early adopters and to partner with the people that we believe can not only we can actually help them deeply solve what they're thinking about, but actually taking back from this and being very, very customer oriented. I would call it organization on our side. And I think we did it well, but if I'll do it back again, I'll spend much more time, much more effort, much more internal resources to make it much quicker. Because I think that there is nothing like partners, and there is nothing like understanding that the sole purpose of what you're doing, regardless to how visionary you are, is to understand how can you take an outstanding innovative technology but make it usable for a customer from day one. And I think that we had an amazing journey to achieve this, but I would put it even more into the depth of what we're building with our customers.
Yeah, double down on the customers, essentially. It makes sense. And then moving on to Miggo. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that's happening. And I think first, I'd love to start on ADR space. What does that actually mean for folks that don't know? How do you define that, the space of ADR?
Yeah, so I think ADR, like the easiest way to explain ADR is to think about the EDRs of the world, the CrowdStrike, the Sentinel, the others, but in the application layer. And why is it so important? Think about it like this, because essentially, I think what EDRs and others brought to the world is the understanding that it doesn't really matter, what's the thousands of potential things you have. You have to continuously monitor what a specific, machine is doing. And I think in the world of application, this is the same problem, but way more complex. And what we're trying to do is to simplify this complexity by first creating a very, very deep, instant visibility into how the application is actually structured, how is it actually behaving, what's the baseline looks like, is it aligned or not aligned with what I want to achieve. And essentially the goal for us, and I think for other ADRs, is to identify what's the actual attack path in my application. So not about going back to this, not about the 1,000 opportunities or millions of opportunities to attack. What's the one way that attackers can actually exploit my application? But more than this, for us, ADR is all about the ability to actively defend, which means the ability to not only tell you have a problem, but to help you have a solution for it by neutralizing those issues. It doesn't matter if it's a vulnerability you knew about or it's a 0-day. What ADR is all about is the ability to, one, detect how an attacker can actually attack you, and two, be able to essentially block an attack on those specific issues by buying you the time to go and fix them and understanding the root cause in a much more ease and in a way that is compatible to the next generation of applications that are built today.
Yeah, very cool. And you guys have just announced Series A, right?
Yeah.
So very exciting.
Yeah.
So talk about Series A. What's the purpose of that? What are the kind of the goals with that investment? What are you looking to do maybe over the next couple of 6, 12 months and beyond?
Yeah, so I think that for us, going back to what I will double down. So I will double it down right now. I think that our goal is to bring is to partner with our customers and our future customers in order to bring a different way to solve one of the, I think, most painful problems for many, many people, which is, this lack of control and sometimes lack of visibility, lack of ability to actually defend such an important part of your business. And what we are going to do in the next 6 to 12 months is, one, make sure that technology we built is really continuously growing in order to solve more attacks, reduce the false positive even more. Right now, we're already managing to achieve, reduction of 99% of noise to customers, as well as actually detecting and responding to attacks in real environments. And I think that we want to, and attackers are continuously evolving, we want to evolve with them. And the second thing we want to achieve with the technology is the ability to not only, be the one that knows how to solve it, but simplify and automate the way to make it as easy as possible for people, going back to doubling down on customers, helping them use it. And the second part, of course, is to get to many more new customers. So this is kind of where we are building our go-to-market team. We have an outstanding team that we kind of just joined us. And I think we're very lucky to really expand, mainly in kind of North America, but hopefully later on to the rest of the world.
For sure, it's exciting. And looking at the ADR space, So there's, from what I see anyway, and it's probably a good sign, there's other vendors that are popping up now. So it's becoming competitive, normally a great sign. How do you guys maybe differentiate yourselves from others in that space?
So first, as you mentioned, I think it's a blessing that we're seeing more companies. I think that kind of when we launched Miggo for the first time a year ago, we were the first vendor in the market doing ADR. And right now we are seeing that it became an acronym that many people are using, which we love because essentially we all need to solve the problem, and I think there are amazing vendors out there that are solving the problem. For me, one of the things that we saw and learned from the EDR experiences, as well as I would say the differentiation between how application looks like versus an endpoint, is that modern application is more than just the one machine or the one server that it's being deployed on. In the past, you had a monolith application. Okay, so if you kind of monitored one server, you were done. But we're living in a world today where it's not just about the ability to understand specifically the one service, but it's ability to understand the application as a whole. And for us, the ability to utilize the application level, service level profiling alongside distributed tracing in order to achieve this comprehensive view of the application and to conduct very deep root cause analysis for attacks is what really differentiates us, but also allowing us to achieve outstanding results in the ability to detect more attacks that others can't, as well as much better false positive rate, and which allowing us to essentially not only detect the problems, but to provide response capabilities that you can actually adopt. Because as we mentioned, our goal is not to give you more problems, even if we give you less problems. Our goal is to help you automatically know that, I've got Miggo, I've got it covered. This cannot be attacked. And in the meantime, I can fix it, as I wish, with the people I know, with the data that I need.
Yeah. And out of interest, so when you started Miggo, you had a vision and a goal. Has that at all shifted as the journey's kind of gone on? Has the goal slightly moved?
So me and Itai, my co-founder, we always say that we are in love with the problem, not with the solution, because I think that by design, your solution have to move, because you have to understand how to make something which on the one side is evolving with the evolvement of the attackers, but on the other side is evolving with the needs for a customer to use the product, as we mentioned, because for us it's always those two things. And as time went by, I think that we are doing a lot of efforts to one, continuously learning kind of the latest and greatest techniques of the attackers. And guys that follows us will see that we have always research and a very, very strong feed of whatever is happening. And the way that we actually adopt it into the product is we say everything is based on an application model. If we have this digital twin of your application and we can understand exactly how things are changing, we can very easily come and say, okay, something changed in the world, how does it impact you, yes or no? And the other thing, of course, is the ability to actually adapt ourselves into the technologies that we're seeing customers adopting and using. And this is something that allowed us to create very interesting combinations between, for example, not just your eBPF, but very deep understanding of capabilities in eBPF combined with OpenTelemetry, combined with some other things that allows us to create a very comprehensive amount of things, but mainly to utilize the fact that already organizations have tons of data. And we can utilize this. And maybe you don't have to even deploy anything. And so I think that this is kind of where we are at. So I think our job is to be in love with the problem, not with the solution. And we are very much in love with the problem.
Yeah. And I guess it ties back, the customer keeps coming back to this, right? Because you're listening to the customer, so you're going to shift in certain directions depending on what you learn.
Of course. And going back to this, I think, at least for me, this is kind of where the partnership is a key. Because, again, many people will say, if you're, essentially you must listen to the customers. But it's also a journey and it's a partnership, because you need to also kind of tell the customer, this is what I believe in. This is what we're hearing from others, because every customer have different needs, but none of the customer want you to build only for them. You need to build something that will be robust for everybody. So for us, at least, this is kind of going back to how we're thinking about customer relationships, is we are adapting ourselves to make it usable for the customers. We're taking some of the base features we have in the product, where ideas, including not just like UI features, actual security features, were ideas of customers, but all of them always ties back to our understanding of how can we actually actively defend applications, and how can we better detect and respond attacks. So I think it's a disbalance that we have also internally between the push to always listen to the customer and the very strong understanding of Itai, who led vulnerability research in the idea for a long time, and our research team, to really understand how can I actually build something that actually, hold the attackers back.
Yeah, it's a fine balance, isn't it?
It
Because
is.
like you're at one point you want to listen to the customer, then you've got to say, actually, this is what we know, this is what we do, and you've got to kind of combine the both. Because if you go down one route, then it's probably like a custom purpose built product.
Yeah, and I think this is where, like, again, partnership keeps coming up in our minds, because I think we are very lucky to have outstanding partners with our customers today. And we are looking at this as it's a really open understanding of what they need, what we can provide, what we would provide. And I think for them also, and we're talking a lot about it, is part of the benefits of working with an early stage companies. Because, and again, it very much depends. We have a very strong thesis about how we want to solve the world. What does it take in order to understand applications better? What does it take in order to understand active attack path better? What does it take to stop attacks? We have this very strong thesis. But as I mentioned, it doesn't really, like, if you're building the best technology in the world but nobody uses it, nobody cares.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of where the early stage companies, and it depends on the mindset, and hopefully we are in this right mindset, is allowing you to sit with the customer and having this conversation, which allows you on the one side to, going back to kind of to tell him what you know, to listen to what they know, but essentially to get to a solution which is true, and this is my goal for this series, is essentially to accelerate dramatically our partnership with customers in order to solve quickly. Because again, one of the interesting things that happen in the world today is that actually attackers are knowingly or unknowingly kind of sharing information more than before. Because if all of us are using Ghost GPT or something like this, by design, we are kind of sharing a lot of the techniques, a lot of the information that we are having. And I think within this, of course, there is a lot of threat intelligence, there is a lot of other things there, but we're seeing very, similar targeted attacks towards certain sectors, which are now with AI are much easier to scale, which means that and this is kind of where we are building our product to allow an understanding of an attack pattern in one place to very easily be replicated to another place, or a threat in one place to understand exactly, is it really a threat, yes or no, in another place. So yeah, this is a business of partnerships.
It's very cool. Yeah. What would you suggest to, if someone's listening to this, because the partnerships piece and the customer piece is key. If someone's struggling with this, maybe they're going down the route of they're trying to be too customized with the solution they're building. Is there any suggestions that you've learned from the partnership piece that they can get better at that, or any suggestions around that you've experienced?
So it's part of kind of my learnings, and I'll talk here both to both sides. I think that there are certain customers that really needs a project.
Okay.
And there are certain customers that I think really understand what is being an early adopter of a startup. And I think we are very lucky in the security sector to have some of the most amazing kind of mentors, because security always innovates. Which means, or there is always innovation, which means that there are some of the, security leaders I'm working with, work with serial entrepreneurs. There are serial early adopters, and they know exactly how to be an early adopter. What does it mean? What's the stake?
Yeah.
And I think part of the thing, going back to this, is the ability to find these people and also to define those relationships in this way. And I think that security today, we are, as entrepreneurs, we are lucky to have entrepreneurs also on the other side, on the defender side, but as entrepreneurs, you have to talk in this language with them. And so I would say for both sides, and first, for those security leaders that are thinking about it like this, I would say thank you, because I think that it's not an easy job, it's not an easy task. But for others, like, you need to find the right people, but also to create the right conversations with them.
Yeah.
I think it took us a bit to understand how it needs to be done, but this is something that we were very lucky to have those outstanding partners very early on.
Yeah, that can help you and advise you through the journey. Makes sense. And future looking then, so ADR space, the definition of ADR is fairly new, right?
Yes.
So how do you see this space playing out over the next maybe 6-12 months and beyond?
So I think that the market itself is being built. And I think that within this, detection response is becoming an essential part, because, as we mentioned, we're not living in a world, especially with the AI applications coming in, that it's becoming harder and harder to predict, the behavior of your applications, which means that you have to go a bit more into kind of the ability to understand runtime flows and to detect and to respond things in real time. And I believe that, and we've started seeing it already, attackers understand it. And attackers are going to this direction. The inability to define things, predefine things, or essentially, you are learning about a vulnerability where it's already in production. And attackers understand it, attackers exploit it. I think we just saw the DBIR data that show that hacking, exploitation, overpass phishing and credential stuffing after quite a long time. So I would assume that more and more customers will understand the need of this, because they will understand that they cannot just scan their code and pray, but they need an active defense. And the goal is to have, and as you mentioned, our amazing vendors, and hopefully kind of Miggo is leading the charge to help you solve this problem.
Yeah. Love it. Well, to wrap this up, Dan, it's been a pleasure. I know there's definitely exciting things ahead for Miggo and how you're pioneering the space. So I look forward to following you guys. And thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up?
No. So with all of this kind of conversation, all of this conversation about customers, I think it's a great opportunity to say, and we just hit an amazing milestones, with the A series led by Sin and YL, Sin Ventures and YL Ventures. It's a great opportunity to talk to my team, to talk to my customers, and celebrate the fact that celebrate the partnership. Internally and externally, I think we are very lucky to have the best application security team in the world. And we have outstanding luck with partnering with some of the most innovative securities that there are.
Yeah. Well, congrats, guys, to all of you. It's been a pleasure, Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed today's show, please like and share with your friends and colleagues, as this is really important for the show's reach. If you'd like to be our next guest or are interested in Aspiron Search's staffing solutions, please get in touch directly with me or reach out to us via our website, www.aspironsearch.com.